and welcome back to a special marathon edition of Massholes with Mics. It is a three-person cast. All three of us are in the Boston area. Boston Marathon is going on today at the day of recording, but we still wanted to give you guys some content, so here it is. We got a special 10 questions edition of just Patriot stuff. The unofficial quarter mark of the season has kind of come and gone. A little bit weird now that there are 17 games. You don't have an official one. But we do have Jaclyn and Kyle on hand to react to what was an anemic game yesterday. So we watched that game. We were all collectively pulling our hair out. But we decided, you know what? Let's go 10 questions. It's easy to go and kind of get through the Patriots season up to this point because we don't want to spend too much time on that Texans game because it was just that bad. I think we may touch on it in some of our answers, but we'll see. So without further ado, we're going to get into the questions. So yeah, question number 1 is for Jaclyn to start. Who has been the team MVP thus far, 5 games in?
Okay, so I have 2. So I'm going to do the one who I don't know if either of you would pick, which is Mac Jones. I think that so far he's actually very much impressed me. I know that he's a rookie, but I think that he has proven why the Pats used the first rounder on him. And that's because he is developing, and you can see it throughout like the past 5 games. He's already thrown for over 1,200 yards, also 5 touchdowns. Yes, he has had those 5 interceptions, but I would say probably 2 or 3 of them weren't his fault. And overall, I think that with the ball in his hands, I feel confident and the team feels confident. I know that there was a quote from Devin McCourty the other day saying how they feel like Mac isn't a rookie because of the way that he has been developing. And I think that overall, if you got a good quarterback, then your team will be successful either in now or in the near future. And I think that he is the building block that these Patriots needed.
Kyle, who's your pick for team MVP?
I guess I probably took the obvious one, but my pick is Matthew Judon. He seems like he's really the only person who's been consistently good over the. I mean, I guess the first week he wasn't great, but since then he's been consistently good. I mean, he already had, I believe he broke the record for most sacks in your first 5 games as a Patriot. He already has eclipsed Chase Winovich's sack total from last year, which led the team. I believe he has 6.5 now this year.
He does.
And Chase Winovich had 5.5. So, Judon really has, it took him a second to get there, but he has been everything as advertised. He has been a game wrecker. He pretty much is the reason the Pats were able to come back into that game outside of that really stupid punt play that they had. The fact that he was able just to wreck the pocket against a guy who the broadcast kept hyping up as, Davis Mills, he's not bothered. Well, he looked like Matthew Judon was bothering him quite a little bit.
So I knew that I was going to go third on this question, and I knew that you guys are going to take the 2 obvious ones. So I had my number 1 as Mac Jones and my number 2 is Judon, so I'm going to take a minute and just talk and say that Kendrick Bourne has been, I think, by far the best weapon the Patriots have had. We're going to get to disappointments later, but a couple of guys in that area have kind of been underwhelming. So I think Bourne has definitely emerged as the best receiver out of this group for now. I mean, Jacoby Myers is making drops like nobody's business down the left sideline, and that would have been a touchdown in my opinion. You got Nelson Aguilar, who has yet to go really deep and get a deep shot yet, but he has been catching some balls effectively. But I think Bourne has been the guy. The more he learns the playbook, it looks like this offense is more comfortable. So I think he's been pretty solid at the wide receiver position. So I did mention that we were going to get on to disappointments, and that's where we're going to start with question 2. So Kyle, who has been your biggest disappointment? It could be a player, a coach, a unit, whatever you want to go with on this.
My biggest disappointment so far has been Damian Harris. This team was, in the preseason, everyone was talking about, wow, this team has too many good running backs. What are they going to do? I mean, Harris is obviously good. Sony Michel was looking better. Brandon Bolden was there. J.J. Taylor was looking good. Ramondre Stevenson was looking good. And everyone's like, oh, man, it's gonna be a great committee in there. It's going to be great. 2 fumbles so far. One was obviously a lot more costly than the other, but the other one could have been so much more costly had the Texans not elected to, as I said earlier, take that really stupid punt and basically just gift the game back to the Patriots. I still cannot believe that went down the way it did.
Funny.
It really talk about a momentum builder when you're and because I love the way that the Texans have been playing that game. They just kept hammering it down their throats on 4th down. I'm like, that's the way that you have to play against Bill. You have to challenge him. Because if he's not going to be able to meet your challenges, then you're just going to be able to go for it, completely go away with the game. And they pretty much had. I think how many fourth downs did they convert? Like
3 up until they stopped doing it.
Yeah, and I love that they kept going for it on the play that they were. I think one of the field goals they kicked. I'm like, honestly, I don't know why they aren't going for it. I mean, they have them on the ropes. Like, they have not really been able to stop you yet, but it ended up working out for them. But yeah, Damian Harris has definitely been a big letdown this year because you thought with the experience he had, he was just going to be so much better. And right now he's injured now, so who knows what the future's gonna hold. But yeah, Damian Harris for me.
There were so many people that you could have picked for this category. Disappointments, I mean, there's just been so many across the board. A little bit of recency bias, but the guy that topped my list when I made it was J.C. Jackson. He got cooked yesterday in multiple plays where he just does not look like he's got it. I know Kyle has been definitely harping on the fact that he doesn't think he's number one corner. If yesterday didn't seal the deal for a lot of people, I don't know what will. I mean, you're getting destroyed by a team. Chris Moore is their number 2 receiver yesterday behind Brandon Cooks, and you were getting absolutely cooked by Davis Mills. Like, I mean, it's brutal because Jackson
Mills, who had arguably the best rookie performance of the entire weekend.
Seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, you looked coming into last year, you needed the defense to step up, and you had Gilmore and you had J.C. Jackson opposite each other, and Jackson got a lot of interceptions because guys weren't willing to go Gilmore's way. But he is getting a little bit exposed as a number 1 corner. I think there's no two ways about it. So he definitely tops the list in terms of disappointments for me, and probably Bill, because I'm assuming he expected a better performance, which is why he didn't pay Stephon Gilmore in the offseason. Jaclyn?
I'm going to say Josh McDaniels, and she's the only coaching staff member of the 3 of us. I think that Josh McDaniels, in the first few games, has really not impressed me with the playbook. I feel like the offense is really predictable, running on first down, probably running again on second down, and then attempting to pass on third down, or doing a stupid little pass. What are those called again?
Like a toss crack?
Yes, yes.
The halfback toss.
Yes.
All
doing
of our
those,
collectively
every single
most hated
game
play.
where clearly it's not working. And I think that he did impress me more with the Bucs game, so I will give him that. But overall, with this offense is loaded, and you're not taking those attempts. You're not letting Mac Jones unleash as you should. It's just not, it wasn't working for me. And I think that he definitely has a lot of room to improve. I think that the first 5 games are indicative that he probably won't be up for a head coaching position this coming year. So if he wants to step up and be the head coach of a team next year, he really has to elevate this playbook because it's getting ridiculous.
All right. Question number 3. Biggest surprise so far, and you could take this however you wanted, but I get to lead, and I'm going to go negative surprise. The offensive line. I mean, good God. I'm going to let Jaclyn talk a little bit more about it if it was hers, but I'm just going to say that they were terrible, because I had a second backup surprise, so that's what I'm going to go with instead. The play of Mac Jones. I think it's, without a doubt, one of the bigger surprises on this team this season. I was expecting far less than what I've gotten so far in terms of poise. I think the results are about what I expected. 5 touchdowns and 5 picks is not world-beating, but it is better than most of the other rookies so far, so take that with a grain of salt at this point. Maybe that means that he's better set up for success. Maybe it means that he's actually been better than most of these rookie quarterbacks, regardless of who he has around him. I don't know. He's definitely been better than what I was going into the year hoping for. I'm happy that they cut Cam Newton and instead brought him in as a starter when they did. But yeah, I'm gonna go with the play as Mac Jones is my biggest surprise. So Jaclyn, you can go and harp on the offensive line a little bit.
Yeah, I thought that the offensive line was supposed to be the strongest suit of this Patriots team, coming off of a year with a very strong offensive line presence. But then, I think this week is really indicative of how this season has gone for this offensive line. 4 starters out, Wynn and Onwenu on the COVID list, and then Shaq Mason and Trent Brown not playing with injuries, having to basically have a full new offensive line who honestly might have even done better than the starters. You know what I mean?
They didn't look bad. I was expecting them to be a
They
lot
only
worse. He
allowed
got
one
sacked
sack,
once.
I'm pretty sure. So, like, clearly something isn't working with those four, and Andrews, obviously, but they have been getting so many penalties, like false starts or holding penalties that have just gone so undisciplined. And this is something that the Patriots really need to improve upon, because if Mac Jones gets hurt, God forbid, I'm knocking on wood right now, it's because this offensive line doesn't protect him the way that they do. You saw what Joe Burrow went through last year. Everyone did. It's because the offensive line stunk. You don't want Mac Jones to be out like that. That can't happen. So that really needs to improve.
Kyle?
Yeah, I mean, I had a specific person on the offensive line for my letdown or surprise. I guess we all went negative. That's kind of funny. Mine was Isaiah Wynn. I mean, I've been high on Isaiah Wynn for a while. I thought, last year he wasn't as good as he normally was, but his first 2 seasons when he actually played, he really established himself as being one of the cornerstones of the future of this offensive line. And he's been taking a lot of bad penalties. He's been blowing a lot of coverages. It's been a really rough ride for him. But you guys already pretty much elaborated on, the offensive line. I mean, the other guys on there aren't as great as him, so I was expecting him to, be better. The other person I did highlight, though, just as sort of a backup, I thought to myself, because when I realized you guys both picked linemen, I said Kyle Van Noy, and I was really excited to have him come back, and he hasn't really had as much of an impact as you would have hoped he had. I mean, he did miss one game, and then some other games he's just been essentially just like, a figment. He had a pretty bad outing against Tampa Bay. I believe that's the game I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, you're right.
And, now they brought in Jamie Collins. Like, it's honestly going to be kind of, I can honestly see Jamie Collins being used more than Van Noy. I mean, Collins only played one game, and he already has more of an impact than Van Noy's had all season. And I love Kyle Van Noy. I'm biased. My name is Kyle. For a long time, I've been saying he is, like, my favorite Kyle in the world other than myself. So, hoping to get more out of him, though, because I do like him. But, with Jamie Collins coming in and making that instant impact, it's going to be interesting.
For sure. Question number 4. Jaclyn, you get to start. Give me one player you want the Pats to acquire within reason. You can trade for somebody who should be on the way out of their team. You can pick up someone from the free agent market. Who do you want?
Yeah, so clearly there's a theme here. I was looking at offensive linemen. I think that is something that they really need to tackle. My nice transition into who I should
Which is why you want them to get a guard.
Yeah. No, Tyron Armstead from the Saints. I know that he's injured right now. He's a free agent in 2022. I didn't
know that. Hello. Okay.
Yeah, so he's probably, I think, the most desirable tackle on the market. I know he's injured right now, which is why I put him as a free agent acquirement. I think that they do need to try and trade for an offensive lineman. Maybe, I don't know, Chase Winovich has been playing pretty well, so maybe include him in the deal. Unfortunately, I hate saying that because he is my favorite player, but like he has been starting to, ramp up. You could trade for, I don't know who, but anyways, Armstead is probably my go-to in free agency.
Wow. I did not know that he was. That's awesome. Okay, so for those seriously, he is
Bill
my
sipping the glass.
In my opinion,
Nike's
in my opinion, he is the best left tackle in all of football. Tyron Smith is getting old. Bakhtiari's coming off of an ACL injury. Armstead is the cream of the crop when it comes to left tackles. I thought that New Orleans had locked him up because they had re-signed Ryan Ramczyk, their right tackle, to a big money deal. I just looked. According to Spot Track, he is up after next year or this year, something like that.
Well, remember the Saints were in cap hell for most of the offseason, so it doesn't really surprise me they might not have been able to lock down a deal for him because they had to pay Taysom Hill all that money.
Yeah, I was right though. He is a free agent after next year, as Jaclyn said. If you could get him, I'd spend multiple first-round picks to go and get Teron Armstead. He's 30. He's a left tackle in his prime, and he is a legit blindside protector. That could be a really, really good acquisition. That's a great pick, Jack.
And it'd also be all right sending a first-round pick for him because, I mean, that's probably what you're going to be drafting in the first round next year anyway. And if you really think that the tackle and, you know, just offensive line in general talent coming up next year isn't as good, then, you know, maybe he might be a guy you go out and jump for.
Kyle, what's your pick?
So I wasn't sure if this was supposed to be in-season or postseason acquisition, so I went for an in-season acquisition, and I don't know enough about offensive linemen throughout the league for me to actually pick a lineman, although I would want one. I was looking at running back, obviously, because now
I know where you're going with this.
Brandon Bolden is... Actually, you don't, because... And I'm going to explain why. I know where you think I'm going, but I'm not going
where
there.
I'm going.
I know, and that's also why I didn't take him. I want them to go after and see if they can go sign Kerryon Johnson.
Okay.
I know he's a free agent right now. He's a decent receiving / running back. He could probably fill into that James White role well enough. I mean, granted, you don't really have a line, so what's it going to do? But who knows how long Damian Harris is going to be out? And like, I love Ramondre Stevenson, and I do also like J.J. Taylor, and I'm mid on Brandon Bolden, but they all have not shown enough for me to really think, especially if Damian Harris is going to be out for a couple weeks, even though I did say he was my biggest disappointment. Like, what is their running game going to be beyond that? So you probably want to go out there. If Harris is going to be out for an extended period of time, go find someone to fill in that slot. And I think that Kerryon Johnson, he's 24, so he's young. That's the main reason why I wouldn't want to go for the guy that you want, because he's old. He didn't really play as well last year, but then again, Kerryon Johnson didn't play as well last year either, and that's why he's currently a free agent. So he's just he's the first name on the free agent running backs list that actually stood out to me.
All right, so for those who are... Me and Kyle have been tiptoeing around this for a little bit now. For those of you who are not actually watching this on YouTube, you can, by the way, Kyle is dressed out with his Oklahoma visor, his Oklahoma Sooners jersey, and I am going to be taking a former Sooner as the guy that I want them to sign. Because he's dependable. He might be old. No, he's on the Chiefs right now. He might be old.
But he could block.
That's true. This guy might be old. He's a running back, but they have had experience with old running backs in the past. They had Antoine Smith for the last 2 years of his career. They brought in Steven Jackson at the end as well, and he was able to kind of munch yards when needed. Adrian Peterson on the Patriots would be amazing as a Vikings fan. I would love to watch that, simply for the fact that he was so dominant when he was with Minnesota, and he's kind of fallen off since he's left them. But for one last ride, I want to see Adrian Peterson on the Patriots because I think it would be really funny. And they need a guy who can not only blitz pick up, but also just not fumble the ball. And Peterson, over the years, has been pretty reliable. He had maybe 1 or 2 games where it was pretty bad, specifically that playoff game against the Seahawks with the Blair Walsh kick to the left. But overall,
that's the conditions.
Ball security has not been a massive issue for Peterson, and I wouldn't mind bringing him in. Other guys I threw on the list, but I'm not really going to talk about. Quentin Dunbar, the DB, to strengthen your secondary, and then Golden Tate and John Brown as guys who are good yards after the catch. John Brown is a speedster. Golden Tate, again, a veteran wideout I wouldn't mind. All right.
I didn't know Golden Tate was a free agent.
I didn't either.
That would be a pretty good look.
It's interesting because he's doing like talk shows and stuff right now. So I don't know if he necessarily wants to come out of his semi-retirement. He hasn't officially retired though.
The Pats should re-sign Julian Edelman.
Yeah, seriously. All right, calm down over there, Schwartzy. Kyle, I think Kyle's starting on this one. Question number 5. What is your favorite remaining game on the Patriots schedule?
I don't know if this is going to be as fun to watch as it was last year, but the Pats versus the Chargers, I believe they're playing in SoFi again, so that's always a fun game. But Chargers look legit this year, and obviously last year, if you guys remember, the Pats pretty much, that was one of the few games all season where they really looked like they were clicking on all cylinders. That was a game where Cam Newton sat because they were playing too well, not because he was playing poorly.
Agreed. And
we got to see Jarrett Stidham in that game, and I believe he threw my worst nightmare, a touchdown pass to Gunnar Olszewski.
Yeah.
I do not think it's going to go the same way this year. I just love watching this Chargers team, and who knows, maybe Bill still remembers what he did last year, and he'll be able to dial up something, and they can keep it close. I will say, though, bet the over in that game because the Chargers love the over this year. That defense is bleeding at times.
So I tried to pick a game. So the 2 games in terms of star value and shock value that you got left on the schedule, this week at home against Dallas, which should be a ratings bonanza again, I think. And then at the Chargers, as Kyle said, but I picked a game that I thought that the Patriots could actually win. Thursday Night Football, Week 11. You're going to Atlanta to play Atlanta. in that awesome Mercedes-Benz Stadium. I love that stadium. It's absolutely unbelievable. I think it's a game that you could win. And the amount of 28-3 crap, because Buck and Aikman are doing the game, it's Thursday Night Football, you get a lot of 28-3 stuff, which makes me happy because I think that would be funny. Jaclyn.
So the Patriots play both the Browns and the Chargers this year, which I am very excited about both. I think that the Browns is another star power game to watch because the Browns do have a very great team. As referenced, the game yesterday at time of recording, the Browns-Chargers game was amazing to watch. So I'm really excited for both of those games, but I'm going to choose another random kind of game. I'm excited to play the Jags. I think that
I was going to pick that.
Seeing Trevor Lawrence and Mac Jones play each other, I don't know. I just love it when rookies face off. I think that it's interesting, especially where you have the number 1 overall pick and the number 15 overall pick. Oh, he's going to have such a I don't know, chip on his shoulder because he was picked first, and oh my God, I said Joe Burrow. Not Joe Burrow.
Well, he
Mac
was.
Mac Jones was picked 15th and slipped. So I feel like that. I keep almost saying Joe Burrow. It's because I love Joe Burrow. But anyway.
Will Urban Meyer be the coach by then? Second to last game of the year.
I mean, as a Pats fan, I hope so.
Yeah,
but
I
for
agree.
the sake of the league and the
true.
Jags, I hope not.
Very much agree on that. Question number 6. I'm starting on this one. If you could go back and redo one offseason move, what would you change? I kind of went outside the box a little bit, but not too much. I looked at 2 contracts specifically. Dietrich Wise got 3 years and $30 million in an extension, I believe, and Jalen Mills got, I think, $24 million. I don't remember how many years. I think that was 3 as well. What would I have done? I would have not signed one of those guys and paid Gilmore that money. That was what I would have done. Because Gilmore opposite J.C. Jackson is so much more formidable than just Jackson and Jalen Mills. If you still wanted to sign Mills, fine, because I really don't like Dietrich Wise whatsoever. I don't think he brings you anything. But one of those two...
But isn't he the best defensive player in the Patriots?
Yeah, so they were talking about that. I think it was maybe Felger and Maz that brought it up. It was the only reason that Dietrich Wise is so highly graded is because he doesn't actually do anything bad. He doesn't do anything good either, though. He just kind of
He's
sits
just there.
Just there.
You need 11 players on the field, and
That's
he
why
is
he's
one of them.
graded so well. Exactly. So I'm going to be taking, I would have rather they had paid Gilmore the money from one of those 2 deals. Jaclyn?
Mine's just not letting Joe Tooney walk. I'm clearly...
That's a good point.
He
I forgot
is a
about
great
that one.
O-lineman, and that is the struggle point. So
That being
just
said,
not letting him walk.
Kansas City has not been good this year on the offensive line, but I think part of it was Tooney he understood this system. He did very well in this system. So I think it would have been different results if they had kept him.
I agree.
Kyle.
Yeah, I had keeping Joe Tooney as mine. I do
okay.
disagree, though. I think Jalen Mills has actually been pretty solid as far as, the corners have been this year. He's definitely been one of their more consistent corners. I think he gets exposed a lot less. Granted, he's not guarding the number 1 guy. Guys like J.C. Jackson are going to get exposed a little bit more, but Jalen Mills is not a name you're hearing a lot in the field. When you're a corner, that's a good thing. But I will say, I did write down a second one. My other one would have been maybe not signing Nelson Aguilar. I mean, he hasn't really done a ton, and with the way that Kendrick Bourne and Jacoby Myers have played, he's kind of looking expendable. He definitely has brought, when he's performed, when he caught the first touchdown pass of the season, when he's performed well, but there have been a lot of times where I've almost forgotten he was out in the field because Mac's just been looking for his tight ends. He's been looking for Myers. He's been looking for Bourne. I mean, granted, you want to have a guy like Aguilar to be that number 1 guy you can depend on, but the money they gave him and the production he's given so far, I would have been okay giving that money to maybe someone else.
Agreed. Jaclyn, you get to start on question number 7. What was your favorite moment of the season so far?
The Bucks game, just seeing Max absolutely sling it. He looked like a quarterback who had been in the league for 5 years during that game, in my opinion. He just looked so dependable. And we were all watching that game together. When the ball was put back in his hands during that, I forget when they got it back, like under the 2-minute mark, we were all like, why do we feel oddly calm? Obviously we weren't calm, but like, at least I felt like, wow, I can depend on Mac, which is good. So I think that was kind of like my standout moment.
Kyle.
Mine is from the same game, but I believe it was the touchdown pass to Jonnu where they had that fake handoff on the goal line. Because at that point, they took the lead. You're kind of like, wait, like, is this gonna happen? Like, is this gonna happen right now?
It's happening.
Because it was a great play call. It was good to see Jonnu get involved. He was another person I wrote down for the earlier thing about disappointments. I was really hoping to get more to Jonnu Smith this year, and we really have not seen a lot. But that was one of the few moments where he made an appearance and he did well, and it was a great play. It was probably one of my favorites from this year.
That was one of the two that I had written down. I mean, we were absolutely roaring when they went into play action on the first play of the fourth quarter and huck it over the top to Jonnu Smith for the touchdown. The place went berserk in my apartment. It went berserk at Gillette. It was awesome. The second moment I picked was the interception of Tua. Week 1, Kyle and me watched that game together, where he gets absolutely crunched on a hit, and then Matthew Judon is sitting next to Tua, and then he looks around, it gets picked, and he goes, touchdown! He just raises his hands. I have that photo saved in my favorites to be used in response to something at some point.
It's also great because they're both just sitting next to each other, and Tua has his head down, and Judon's like this. And I think that it was either that play or it was or it was Ramondre Stevenson getting blown up that inspired my new catchphrase for whenever someone gets crushed is planted like a sunflower. I'm pretty sure it was that play that inspired that one when Judon took out Tua. That's a great pick.
Nice. All right. I mean, we did best moment. We got to do least favorite moment. They are 2 and 3. Kyle, what you got?
Mine is very me specific, and I'm sure you guys know what it is.
Yeah.
But Ramondre Stevenson fumbling week 1 was just one of the most gut-wrenching things that could have happened to me so far this season. Because I was obviously super excited for those watching, and I mean, you said it earlier, I'm wearing all my Oklahoma stuff. Was super excited that we have some OU boys. I mean, not really expecting that Ronnie Perkins would be playing at all this year. Not really surprised that he's been scratched. Now I think he's actually hurt, so I'm like, whatever. Maybe he'll get a look if someone gets injured later down the season, but was not expecting anything from him. But was expecting to see a lot from Ramondre Stevenson, and because of that one play, not only did it cost the Pats, but it also really cost him any chance of having any impact early on in the season. And my second place one would have been his touchdown that he scored this weekend getting called back because of an illegal shift.
Which wasn't an illegal shift. I don't understand what they were saying there. They said it was because they didn't get set. The guy was absolutely set. I think it was Jonnu, was sitting there for the full, second and a half.
I think it was him and Jacoby.
Yeah, but Jacoby can keep moving. You just can't have
Aguilar.
two guys moving. Jonnu Smith had his butt set for a second and a half, and they just did not. They were like, illegal shit. I'm like, what are you looking at?
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, I mean that stunk, but I'm happy that he got some reps and he might get some more. But that definitely also just kind of set the tone for the ball security issues they're having. So low light for me.
Yes. My least favorite moment, the Jonnu Smith pick 6 against the Saints. It was at that moment that I said, wow, maybe this team really does suck. And I thought about that again yesterday many times. I'm still convinced this team might suck, but that was the absolute low point, because heading into that Bucs game, after that pick 6, I was like, holy crap, this is gonna be like a 2-13, that math does not add up whatsoever. 2-15,
56-10 final.
A 2-15 year. Like, this could be really, really bad. They brought my confidence back against the Bucs, but it's right back down after this game yesterday. But yeah, that Jonnu Smith pick 6 was just an absolute crotch shot. Jaclyn.
I just wrote the whole Saints game. That game was just not fun to watch. Literally everything went wrong. It's a bad day when Jake Bailey is punting weird or kicking it off and it goes out of bounds, so you get a penalty. Like, when he's having a bad day, that this Pats team is not going to do well. So
he's one of the only people who normally always has a good day.
That was just not good.
It was not good at all. Now, question 9. Predict the Patriots' record the rest of the season. They're obviously 2-3 right now, so we got to go and build in some time for the rest of the season. So I have them going 7-10. You guys didn't have to do this. I did. I predicted their actual wins, the wins that they have for the rest of the year. I gave them the Jets, the Falcons, the Colts, the Jags, and the Dolphins. And that's it. I only got 5 teams that they're going to be able to beat. So that's not exactly good, obviously. But we'll see what happens. I couldn't in good conscience pick them against anybody else. So, Jaclyn, I'm going to let you talk. Well, we try and get Kyle back. The technical difficulties. There he goes. I'm going to have to edit this out afterwards. But you can go, and I'll get Kyle back.
Cool. Okay. So mine is sorry. Kyle just made me laugh. My
Yeah,
Zoom
because
is
Kyle's
frozen.
frozen just like this. So yeah, I'll get him back, and I'm just gonna have to figure out how I'm gonna edit this tomorrow. but
Okay,
it's fine.
cool. So I can just keep talking.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, cool. Sorry. All right, so I have them going. I had them 10-7, but I have to look back because I know that I counted it out. So I have them winning against the Jets, the Browns, because that's a home game, the Falcons, the Bills at home.
Really? You
Colts.
think they're gonna beat the Bills after seeing last night?
Yes, the reason why. Well, I also didn't watch last night's game. However,
Okay. Well, it was bad.
However,
it was bad for
I
the
feel
Chiefs.
like the Bills and the Pats usually split, or at least they always have a chance of winning at least one game. Because like last year, they would have split with the Bills if not for that Cam Newton fumble. So I just give it to them. So now we're up to 7 games winning. Then you also have the Jaguars and the Dolphins. So I will say 9. I think I gave them the Titans game by accident, which I think they could still win. I don't see them beating the Chargers. I maybe see them beating the Panthers, but also you're playing against Stephon Gilmore in that game, so like that's not fun.
I saw that too. Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
The Panthers are starting to look more fraudulent. They lost to the Eagles yesterday, but
Yeah.
I still don't feel confident at all.
No.
Like it could get very ugly.
Exactly. So I would say either 9-8 or 10-7. That's kind of my range that we're at right now.
Yeah. All right. I'm just gonna move on to question 10. We can talk
Okay.
about it, and then if we can get Kyle back, we'll do it. Otherwise, I'm just gonna edit in. I'm just gonna edit in like I want to edit in a face of him just doing like something really weird, and I'm just gonna put it in his box for the rest of the time. We're gonna be like, "Oh,
Cool.
sorry, we lost Kyle," because his recording's still going. I can use it afterwards, so we'll still
Cool.
get the podcast out. So question 10: if Bill Belichick finishes with a 7-10 record or worse, will he get fired? And I'm gonna let you start on this, and then I'll go here.
No. The Patriots wouldn't fire him. I know it's been 2 poor seasons in a row, but last season I count that as like a scratch anyway. I think that was the first year after you lose your franchise basically. So then now coming into this year, you have a rookie quarterback who's developing well. You're part of the reason why he's developing well. You have a good roster. You just aren't putting the pieces together yet. Don't change the person in charge because you couldn't put the pieces together in your first year as a team. If it doesn't work next year, maybe I would consider that question. But also, no, he's fine. He's fine. He's not going to get fired.
Here's what I said. I said he will get another year if he finishes 7-10 or worse, but any other coach other than him probably would be fired. If you look
That's fair.
if you look at what's kind of happened over the last couple of years, the free agent moves, the fact that you're not going to go re-sign Stephon Gilmore, you spent a ton of money in free agency, and it's amounted to 2-3 through the first 5 games. Like, that's just not good enough, no matter what coach you are. I think that Robert Kraft will be very lenient when it comes to giving him another chance, but ultimately, the seat is not hot for him yet. But they may be starting to warm it up a little bit the more the season goes along if this team continues to struggle. Because as I said, I think a couple of shows ago, the issues that the Patriots are really having right now is not because they don't have Tom Brady. You don't need Tom Brady to not fumble the ball if you're a running back. You don't need Tom Brady if you're going to still have false start penalties on your offensive line. You can't block anything. Brady wasn't blocking.
But is that more on Josh McDaniels than it is Bill Belichick?
So I think it could go either way.
I think
ultimately,
that if
I think
No, okay, I think that if these struggles keep continuing, Josh McDaniels has to go. He has to go. There's like no way that you can feasibly keep him if the playbook clearly isn't working, the ball security is bad, and like you said, there's so many false starts, this O-line stinks. Like, why keep him and when there are other feasible candidates that you could bring in that are just as good, if not better?
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I think Josh McDaniels does deserve a decent bit of blame for so far how the offense has performed, especially in the sense that the run, pass, as you said earlier, run on first down, run on second down, chuck and duck on third down. it's just not sustainable. You have to let Mac Jones throw on first and second down. And I think he's done a better job of it the past 2 weeks. One drive in particular, I know me and my roommate Jeff were very irritated by, was they got down in the red zone, I think it was in the third quarter yesterday, and they threw 3 screen passes. And they gained a total of, I think, -1 yards, and they had to kick a field goal. Like, I mean, you just got to be better. You have to be better than that. But yeah, I think that for most other coaches, they would have been fired by now. Bill Belichick deserves the leeway. He's won a lot of titles, and he's done a lot of good for this organization. But the seat is ever so slowly heating up on him a little bit, which is why I wanted to include that question last. All right, that's going to do it for us. Shorter episode. I can't wait to try and edit this in post. I think it could be very funny with Kyle. But the podcast form will sound fine. It's just going to be us two talking for the rest of it. The YouTube is where it gets interesting. So follow us on all of our platforms. Here we have Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Mass with Mics. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Watch us there because, I mean, I already have an idea of the photo that I want to use for Kyle. So thank you to Jaclyn and Kyle for joining me. Hopefully we'll get Jordan back next week, feeling a little bit under the weather, battling through it, as I know Kyle is as well. So we're going to get him back probably for the Week 6 Picks episode, where the Patriots host the Cowboys in primetime with Jim Nantz and Tony Romo. So for Jaclyn, Kyle, and Jordan, I'm Jeremy saying have a good rest of your day, guys.